Please stand up, everybody.
Our Soya Sunim and abbot of the temple, the master, the Bong, will answer your questions. So, the Bong Sunim is a student of our founding teacher, Musangsa Sunim. He's from America. He spent also many years with Musangsa Sunim and had lots of experience. I hope we will give him. He already got your questions, but still, if there is still time, you can take more questions from the audience. Let's see how it goes. Thank you. So, hello everybody. Nice to see you here. And I think most of you, as far as I could notice, are not familiar basically with the practice, what we do here with meditation. And probably for many of you, the major question is actually why do that? Yeah. So I decided that I can just share some experience that I had in my short life that kind of persuaded me in the importance of this practice and that showed me that it can be useful basically for anybody. I think not, because it's really not connected so much with any kind of religion. That's much more about ourselves, like our true nature and what we are, what we're doing here. So actually, I have been already practicing for a while, but at some point I wanted to go practice abroad. I've been practicing in Russia, but I wanted to go to practice abroad. But for this, I needed a lot of money, and I didn't have them. So in Russia, when you need to earn a lot of money in a short period of time, the only way to do it is to go to Moscow. So I was living in a small city, and I decided to go to Moscow, and I decided that I will take any kind of job, like no matter what comes to be, except for maybe like selling drugs, doing prostitution, or killing people.
You can make money those ways.
Yeah, actually it would be maybe more effective, but I kind of decided that these things I'm not gonna do, but any other job I will take. And so when I came to Moscow, in first 3 days I was cheated by anybody, like anybody who could do it, they cheated me. So I lost almost all the money that I had instead of earning them, and I ended up in a very interesting place. There was an announcement which said like book delivery. So the company that delivers books to people, and the salary was very high. It was like they were paying every day, and they were paying generally like you could earn $1,000 in a month, which for Russia at that time was a really big amount of money. So I thought, this is exactly what I need. So I came for the interview, and instead of the interview, they just told me, okay, you follow this woman. And they gave me 2 big bags full of books, and we just went out, took a subway, went out at some train station, and just went out on the street. I was carrying these books, and this woman, she was just taking books from me, just stopping people and trying to make these people buy these books. So that's what was called actually book delivery. And I thought, oh shit. But I decided to try. And at the beginning, actually, it became quite interesting entertainment, because it was half legal business, so it involved a lot of like running away from police and trying to get through all kind of securities into big office buildings and trying to sell these books to people who sit in the offices and have nothing to do, so they actually are very eager to buy something from you. But then you have to run away from security and try not to be arrested. So it was fun until the moment when I start understanding what I'm actually doing. So in this, it was kind of a very interesting organization. So every morning we would come there to the office and get some training. They would teach us how to sell these books. and there were 5 steps. So first step is greeting. So you have to attract people's attention to yourself somehow. So you can just say hello, but it's kind of boring and nobody may be interested. So you have to say something stupid like, congratulations with the holiday of workers of the fields. It makes completely no sense, but everybody immediately looks at you and listens to you. And then the second step is, what was it? You have to present the book and try to, people take it, they have to take it in their hands. So, because once they take it in their hands, they don't want to let it go. It works very interesting way. So you just basically take out the book and first thing you say, okay, here I have something interesting, please take a look. And you give people a book in their hands. And then you do presentation of the books, that's the third step, you say something interesting about it, and then you have to make fourth step is so-called, they sell the fork of prices. So you have to say that, like, usually in the shops, this book costs, for example, 300 rubles, and in internet it costs 200 rubles, but I can sell it, but in our company it costs only 1,000 rubles. And they were like, wow, then I buy. And then the finalizing of the deal is that you have to ask person a question in such a way that they cannot say no. So you just tell them, okay, so you would like 2 books or 3? Yeah? And they say like, well, yeah, 2 is enough, thank you. And the first time I thought, that's stupid, that's not gonna work, it's so cheap. But actually then I started doing it and I found out that it works amazingly, perfectly. People are, they actually taught us that you have to use people's greed, people's pride, arrogance, and basically that's enough. And at some point I realized that really I could probably sell like an empty beer can to anybody of you here after 10 minutes talking to you, just by manipulating your ideas, the ideas that you have about yourself. So after doing this for quite a while, I realized that wow, like human beings were just puppets, you know, we're so stupid, so easily manipulated, so easily fooled, that we're really like puppets of our own. In Buddhism we talk about greed, anger and ignorance, 3 poisons. And we really are complete prisoners of these 3 things. Like anybody can do anything to us if they learn how to manipulate these 3 things. Greed, ignorance, and anger. And also our egoistic feelings like pride. So, for example, I could go to somebody and just present them some books and people say, no, we don't want to buy them. And then you just tell them, actually, I think you're a very smart person, so you must really appreciate this book. And you can see that people are like, oh yeah, that's true, I'm a smart person. Yeah, I will buy it from you. It's such a cheap trick, but it works, always, with everybody. If it doesn't work, with pushing on their, like, talking about their intelligence, then you can talk about their maybe national feelings or their beauty or something, so, like, anything. So it really showed me how much we are dependent on our egoistic emotions, on our egoistic feelings, of this feeling of self-pride, self-esteem, of desire to look in certain way in front of others, and how easy it is to manipulate us, and also our emotions. Like sometimes it really became a very interesting game for me how to go through the different kind of securities. Like there is all kind of ministries in Moscow which are very well protected, there are people with guns, standing at the entrance. They're not supposed to let anybody in because, some terrorists can come in or something. And for example, one time I come to one of these ministries and I tell them that I have to deliver a book to some person on the third floor in cabinet 111 or something, 312. And they say, well, nobody, you're supposed to have like a paper. This person was supposed to make a paper to you in advance that you can come. And I tell them, well, I don't know anything. They just told me to call them when I come. And so I take my phone and I call to my office. And somebody picks, one woman in our office manager picks up the phone and I tell her, oh, I'm here standing at the entrance of the ministry and they don't want to let me go in and they have your books for you. And she immediately understands what I'm talking about. And she tells me, give your phone to the security guard. And I give the phone to the security guard and she starts shouting at him like, why the hell you're not letting this person in? I'm waiting since early morning. And the guy, and he forgets completely all his prescriptions, all the procedures, and he just so pissed off and frustrated, and he just gives me the phone back, and says, okay, go. I could be a terrorist, you don't know what I have in these bags. But just following this emotion, this guy completely forgets everything about his job. It's so easy to take us out of balance with such a small thing. And that really shocked me, at that time. I thought that really, we, like human beings, we have no pivot. We have we don't know what we're doing here at all. We're just like waiting on the wind of our desires and emotions and feelings. Totally no direction. And in the job also, at some point our office manager, he just decided that he needs a girlfriend, so he just picked one of the women who was working for him and made her sleep with him. And she was miserable. At some time I found out why she was so miserable. I asked her, you don't have to do that, why do you do that? And she was like, well, if I don't do that, I will lose my job. And maybe I cannot find any other one. And Moscow is a huge city, you can find a new job in one day in Moscow. But out of this kind of stupid fear, this person just follows whatever she's told and does whatever the other people want her to do. Also, why? What is the direction? So, this is actually a very important point that brings us actually to our practice, to meditation. Because our meditation it's not about any kind of religion. It's actually about finding this pivot in ourselves, finding out who we are and what we're doing here, finding some direction in this life, so that we don't become puppets anymore, so that we don't become slaves of our own emotions, feelings, of our culture, education, our past, any kind of past. Yeah? When we just stop and look inside, when we sit down, for example, during meditation, and we just, for example, pay attention to our breath and keep bringing it back from anything that appears in our mind, we can see that whatever appears there, whether it is fear or greed or some kind of desire or some kind of idea about ourselves that, oh, I'm so intelligent, or I want to look intelligent in front of others, or something else, all of this is just like clouds. This is just things that appear in our mind, and if we just bring our attention back to this moment, to the breathing, for example, it just disappears. It leaves no trace. It does not really exist, but we build our life on basis of these clouds. Basically, we live our life just starting using these clouds as the foundation of our everyday life, of our decisions that decide our future for many, many years. And just, it's pretty amazing how totally senseless this existence is in a way. And so at that moment, really, I didn't want to do that job anymore because I really realized that I'm just totally manipulating on human ignorance. Like I'm earning money on human ignorance, and it was not so pleasant feeling actually. It wasn't what I wanted to do. So I quit the job, but it really gave me a big inspiration for practice, and also a big inspiration to kind of show to other people so that they don't have to find themselves in this kind of situation when they just totally fooled and dragged by the nose by their own desires, or by especially by the desires of other people who just kind of making their living of our ignorance and our dependence, our not knowing who we are. So our practice is really, it's not about any kind of religion. I mean, any religion can connect to this, but it really has nothing to do with believing in something, except for our own true nature. It's about just finding some foundation, some basis inside of ourselves, and believing in this foundation, believing in this true nature that we all have and we all share, experiencing it, and not being dependent on anything that appears in our mind, basically. And we can experience it through meditation very easily. Actually, it's enough to sit down for half an hour to have this experience. That really everything that we believe to be ourselves is just clouds that come and go. It's just passing feelings, emotions, ideas, thinking, whatever. But what is it that behind all that? Yeah, this is a very interesting question. What is there if I'm not my emotions, if I'm not only my desires, if I'm not only my feelings, if I'm not only my education, if I'm not only my culture, my religion and something, so what am I in reality? What is the essence of my existence? What is this thing? So that's why we do meditation, to find this thing which is beyond everything we know basically about ourselves, and which actually makes us human beings. So that's enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Soya Sunim, and for a lesson in how to get into secure buildings in Russia. So I have to put on all the equipment now. Well, you're very brave. Some of you may have some experience with Buddhism, but most of you probably haven't. You're brave already coming to a foreign country that you may not be familiar with other than through K-pop or something like that. And then within that country come into a situation like this. And not only that, you had to get up at 3:30 in the morning, which might be the time some of you usually go to sleep. So thank you for having the courage to go into this situation. So already you have the mind that Buddha is trying to show us. We call it don't know mind. Having a question rather than holding on to opinions. Opinions about my body, my emotions, my thinking, my situation. In Buddhism we say that's just your karma. The fundamental point in Buddha's teaching is, what am I? Even, many of you probably believe in God. There's nothing in Buddhism saying, believe in God, don't believe in God. But in Buddhism, what becomes important, Buddha's teaching is, who is it that's believing in God? Who are you? The one thing that you have with you your whole life, wherever you go, healthy or sick, happy or sad, in a male body, a female body, or all the various possibilities in between. Whatever country you come from, whatever color your skin is, whatever you do in life, whatever emotion you have, I'm a good person, bad person, happy person, sad person. The one something that's always there is you. I have a brother, younger brother, who went to Europe when he finished high school and traveled around for 2 months. And when he came back, I saw him. I said, "How was your trip?" He said, "It was great, except I came along. Me." So Buddha's whole teaching is to look into what we consider me, I. And maybe you've heard it over and over a little bit here, but if you really start looking, you probably will find that you don't know. Maybe I ask somebody, "What are you?" "I'm a woman. I'm a man." That's your body. You know, "I'm Christian. I'm Buddhist. I have no religion." That's your religious idea, you know, which religion you are. I'm Finnish or Cambodian, and that's, everybody's mixed now, you know. I mean, some of you, maybe not, but most people, we're all mixed together. What country you come from? "I'm from Finland, I'm from Germany, I'm from Africa." You know, that's our country. "I'm a happy person, I'm a smart person." That's an attitude about emotion or intelligence. Who are you? So Zen means just looking into that as if it really does make a difference. Because the teaching that we've picked up and that we're trying to share, basically Buddha said, "I only teach two things, the cause of suffering and the end of suffering." It's not about who made the universe, how the universe will end, not at all. All it's about is how suffering arises as our experience and how to take it away. And it's all founded on I. Because originally I doesn't exist. It's made by our thinking. So if you really look into it and start taking apart, you start to discover something about the nature of this universe, this world, and yourself. And we call that don't know. So you guys already finished. You kept don't know mind, and you ended up here. Whether you like it or not, that's your opinion now. But if you keep this don't know mind, you can learn anything. And eventually you can connect with anyone. And you can realize what this universe is, how suffering appears, how it disappears, and hopefully then, in whatever you choose to do in your life, live in a way that helps others. Because if this whole universe is my true nature, then to hurt anyone is a big mistake. You know, here we are, we've got two hands. Some people will burn themselves. Maybe some of you have done this, you know. When we're in high school, you know, we cut ourselves or something. It makes you feel alive. But everybody says that's crazy. Hurting someone else, since that's also you, is the same thing. So realizing our true nature, basically you're one with all things, then you can live harmoniously. That's all it's about. So basically it means Buddhism's not Buddhism. It's just, what is this life? What is it? What am I? So anyway, you guys wrote out some questions, and I'll read them and try to give some answer. And if we have time at the end and somebody else has a question they didn't write down, then you can ask if you want. But I have to let you go so you can get on your bus. Unless you've changed your mind about school in your life, you want to stay here. And the only way to stay for any length of time is cut your hair, ordain, and upset your parents. Okay, this says, since the goal is to find things from inside yourself, and there is talk of returning to a state of before thinking, does this mean there is some kind of inherent perfection in things, humans, and where does that come from? What are you? Any idea is already a mistake. So you, no matter what your background is, if you have an ear and ear consciousness, you can hear me, you can talk, you can move. Who's doing that? I'm you know, probably older than a lot of your parents now. I was just 67. And I forget when this was, but at some point, decades ago, I looked at a picture of myself when I was 10 years old in school, and I was thinking, this is so weird. The person who looked out of those eyes and me looking at this now, there's something the same that has nothing to do with our character or our form. It's just this ability to be aware, regardless of the content, body or anything. This ability to be aware is the nature of the universe. So as soon as you stop identifying with all the stuff that appears, and it's not easy to do. If it was easy, the world would be tremendously peaceful. But it's the cause of our suffering. And yes, original nature is perfect and complete. So we say in Zen, disease and medicine cure each other. If there's not suffering, great person isn't necessary. It's just, how can I say, it's just nature. I don't mean nature like tree. I mean nature like whatever this universe is. So, in some Western cultures, original sin. So recently, we do some question and answer training. So the teacher asks some question, and then we can see by the way the person answers where they're stuck in their mind, and kind of poke that a little bit. And then the person can realize, well, I'm stuck there. You got to do it skillfully, or the person just is pissed at you, But that stuck place is where we're attached to something. Basically, Buddha said all suffering comes from attachment. If you're not attached, you can use everything that appears in a way that's harmonious. And our true nature, our true substance is before thinking. So you can't get there by thinking. I'm sure I'll get to that at another point in here. What are your current practices for achieving personal enlightenment? Answering your question. Okay, next. How can we end the suffering of Mother Earth? Mother Earth isn't suffering. Human beings are suffering. Animals have suffering. Mother Earth isn't suffering. Mother Earth is fine. It's 100% doing its job. Around 1983, when I was living at our Zen center in Los Angeles. Our teacher went to America. He was a Korean Zen master in 1972. And he spent most of the next 8 years in America. He'd come back to Korea once every year. And as his teaching developed and many students made Zen centers, he'd spend about 2 months on the East Coast, 2 months on the West Coast. So we'd see him about every 2 months. So one day, around '83, he flew out to Los Angeles, and we picked him up at the airport. And as we were going back to the temple, we said to him, "Sir, what kind of teaching are you doing now?" Because he didn't know English when he went to America, so he sort of slowly learned it from us. He'd get some good teaching phrase and use it all the time. Some he used until he died. Some he threw away and didn't use anymore. So we were curious, is there some new teaching phrase he's using? So he said, "I'm no more Zen master. Now I am world peace master." None of you were alive then, but in the 1980s, especially in Russia and America, the big concern was nuclear war between Russia and America. Maybe in Europe people were concerned about that. Africa probably didn't care at all. Asia wasn't too involved with it. But the big thing in the West was, Russia and America, will they blow each other up? So he said, "Now I am world peace master. I talk to all animals. All animals say, human beings all die, then world peace possible." So who's making a mess of this world? Elephants don't so much hurt this world. Tigers don't so much hurt this world. Birds, snakes, fish, they don't hurt this world. Only human beings kill many, many things, eat a little bit, make a shoe and a hat, throw the rest away. Any animal kills one thing, eats it, goes to sleep. Also, usually they kill the young or the old or the sick. They can't catch the healthy ones. So ultimately, the animals continue. But we come here, we go to any fish market. It's unbelievable. Even a little town will have so many fish. How many little towns are there in the universe, in the world? The American Indians used to kill 1 or 2 buffalo, pray to them, use everything. White people I got a white body here, came to America, went across the country in railroad, and just for fun would shoot 400, 500 buffalo out of the window and never use them at all. This is not only white people's mind, this is human beings' mind now. We make the air dirty, the water dirty. We are the only ones making this world have a problem. And actually, it's our problem. So don't worry about Mother Earth. You ever listen to George Carlin? He's really interesting. He's a dead comedian. He said, save Mother Earth. That is insane. Mother Earth existed for 4 billion years before humans appeared. When we disappear, it will continue to exist. So that time, we asked Musangsa in the car driving back. That time he also said, all rich country presidents say, world peace, world peace, world peace. What they mean is, I don't want to lose my good situation. He said, I talked to Cambodia and Ethiopia people. They said, Russia and America blow each other up. Maybe my life get better. This is human truth. We're so attached to our situation, our personal situation. We're so attached to our country. We're also attached to being humans. What's so special about human? One thing I love about Buddha's teaching is if you realize your true nature, everything has the same true nature. That is true original equality. So this is not only humans' world. It's a dog world, a cat world, a tree world, an ant world, a bird world. But human beings don't respect that. Yeah, I'm sure many of you think about that because we're in the process of creating a world we can't live in. I'll give you an example. So that time, in the same conversation, one of the students said to the Zen master, excuse me, he said, you always talk about us keeping our correct situation. Then he said, what's my correct situation if a nuclear bomb falls on my city? Then Musangsa said, die! That time, you cannot die. Correct situation is die. He said, and the person was like, oh no. He said, just go outside, a good fireworks, then die. Then this person said, but if there's a big nuclear war all over the world will disappear. Then Musangsa said, this world will never disappear. Then the man said, what kind of world? Then Musangsa said, poison world. Then this student, oh, that's terrible. Musangsa said, you say terrible, but poison creature likes that world. Where do you think mammals came from? From the dinosaurs all dying. The only thing that could exist is these little mammals, unless you believe certain religions, and then it's a whole other story. But it's very simple, and it's very important you understand this, because you're smart kids, and you got enough guts to jump into it. Yeah, I'm not doing what she's doing, okay? But what she learned. You're smart, so yeah, maybe I am. But it's probably true. If you're going to university, you're probably pretty smart. But anyway, you had the guts to go to another country, and a lot of people won't do that. Now Americans don't. When I grew up, it was like, go out, go everywhere. But we get very few Americans here now. I can see the difference. I grew up in America, so you can see the difference. You know, it's like, I don't want to leave my thing here. But you guys did that. Also, you presumably are studying science to be science. That's very important. If you understand that the universe is much bigger than humans, you will be able to get wisdom. If you can take apart what you consider your I, then other people's mind will just be reflected in your mind. And you'll understand them much faster without thinking about it. It'll be reflected in your mind like a mirror. And then you will naturally connect and respond. That's all human beings need. Actually, you don't need anything. You're already complete. But because we attach to our body, we think we need many things. Buddha said basically human beings have 5 desires. Food. Actually, you don't need food. What's wrong with dying? You know, if you believe in heaven, you get to heaven faster. Sleep. Yeah, human beings need sleep. Yeah. Sex. Well, I don't know. Yeah, certainly I thought I needed it. But I get closer to people, well, my age, maybe testosterone goes down, so it's a lot easier. But a lot of people live, it's not a big deal to them. Most of us, it's a big deal of some sort. Money. What is money? One day I discovered what money is, really, is fear for my physical body. What's the worst thing that happens if you have no money? You starve or you die outside. Your true nature has no life, no death. This form just changes. And it changes by a very clear natural process. Buddhism says cause and effect. The Bible says you reap what you sow. You plant something, that's what you get. That's all. And it just continues. Any energy you set up continues into another form. Yesterday, you guys probably ate, you ate spaghetti, okay? Right. You called it spaghetti. Today, it's your skin, it's your hair, it's your energy, it's your feeling. Today, it's you. So yesterday was spaghetti. Today, it's me. Tomorrow, everybody will go to the toilet, boom, something come out. Tomorrow, it's shit. But today, it's my beautiful face, my handsome figure, my lovely emotion. So, yesterday's spaghetti, today me, tomorrow shit. So, spaghetti is you, you are shit. And in the old days, shit went on the fields and became spaghetti. The whole universe is like that. There's no my body. This is a mistaken idea. Think about it yourself. Where does my body end? When I went to college, I was so happy to move away from my family. And one day I realized, physically I had moved away. Emotionally I hadn't left at all. So, where does me end? You've been in love. When you're in love, it's great. And then it doesn't work out. And it's like you're being torn apart, you know. I remember once the person I was in love with went off with another guy. And I felt like my skin, my flesh was being torn and bleeding. What is me? Really, the whole basis of Buddhism is just to look into that. Because in Buddha's teaching, what he understood when he looked at the world is all suffering comes from I, this false notion of I. Because I is only made by our thinking. It's not how things are. But if you start to take that apart, you can see how everything functions. Then wisdom appeared. I became a monk. Later, there's some questions about that, I noticed. Then once a year, maybe, I visit my family. Then my mother used to always say to me, whenever I'd visit, why do you live in that Zen center? When are you coming back here? So I'd give some answer. I like Buddhism, I like the Zen center, I want to understand myself, I want to help all people. Never worked. And she would ask me these questions at odd moments when I wasn't prepared. We're walking in the hallway of her apartment, and she turned to me and said, when are you moving back here? 10 years, I couldn't give the right answer. One day, she, in the hallway of her apartment, she turns to me suddenly and she says, when are you moving back here? I hadn't lived there 20, 30 years, you know. And suddenly, it was almost like a wave of heat. I got something, afterwards you can say, I got her mind. But it was just like a little bloop. And my mother's short and round. She's like 92 now, very cute. And I put my arms around her and I shook her and I said, Mom, I love you. And she went, ee. She never asked me the question again. Because that was never what she was asking. She was just asking if you love me. Just different words came out. You know, you say, I love you to somebody. What do you mean? Oh, I want to be sure that you're always going to be there for me. I want to be sure that you'll take care of me. I want to be sure I can trust you. What does that mean? If you're really clear and somebody comes up to you and says, I love you, and you see their mind very clearly, maybe you just say, no, thank you. And if you don't, maybe 20, 30 years later, you think, mistake. So don't attach to words, you know. You've got to see through to the mind, the meaning. But you can't do it by thinking about it. You can do it by trying to understand your own true nature. Then automatically. After that, my mother changed her style. Every time I come, she'd say to me, you know, you could teach in university. You guys have parents, right? Don't worry, they're going to start trapping you every time you go home with something. So I'd say, I like the temple. I don't want to teach in university. This went on about 10 years. Maybe, I don't know what it was, 8, 9 years ago, I decide I'm going to do anything she wants. She's 80. She wants to do laundry, okay, we'll do laundry. She wants to do, go out someplace, we'll go out someplace. So I just agreed to everything, which made her very happy. We're carrying some laundry back, and she suddenly turns to me and says, you know, you could teach in university. And I'm being very nice to her, no arguing, nothing, just support, kind, follow. And then I said, I don't want to teach in university. Then she starts coming my way. She says, you could teach Buddhism. This is how the universe works. You become one with somebody, and it will go in its natural way. You hold your opposite's mind, and that will also go in its natural way. My teacher used to travel around with a pencil and 2 magnets. So the magnets were round, flat, and had a hole in the middle. Then he put one magnet on, and then the other one. And the other one would float above the bottom one. Everybody understands that. Then he'd push them together, take his hands off, and they'd separate. If he lifted the bottom one up, the top one would come up and float too, so they wouldn't touch. Then he'd take that off, turn it over, put it on, and boom, they'd stay together. Even if you grab the top one and lift it up, the bottom one would come up with it. So we understand magnets have some energy between them, which you cannot see. Human beings' consciousness is always sending and receiving energy. So you and other people have energy with each other. When you make any kind of opposite thinking, the truth of the universe is no opposites. All things are just one functioning form. So as soon as you make opposite, you and the other cannot connect. Not only you and another person, you in the air, you in the water. Otherwise, how could we wreck our own home? We're not damaging the earth. We're creating a world where human beings cannot survive. So it's not about the earth suffering. It's about you and me losing our human ability to live on this planet. In the meantime, we're causing all these other animals and plants and stuff to die. If somebody harms you, are you going to like that? No, you're not. So, why Musangsa said, I talk to all animals say human beings all die, then world peace possible. Because human beings are making the world this way. So, they want to get rid of us. Nature wants to get rid of us. Actually, that's wrong to say. It's just natural process, natural cause and effect. You can believe anything you want. I'm not trying to tell you some of my ideas. Just, yeah, what we see. One thing I like about Buddha's teaching is he said, don't believe anything because I say it. Don't believe anything because a person of authority says it. Don't believe anything just because it's written in a book everybody praises. You test each thing yourself and decide if it's useful and helpful, use it. If you find it's not, throw it away. So everybody's free to do whatever they want with this whole weekend. In fact, the best thing is let it come in and go out. Then if there's anything useful, you'll remember one day. Just like, sometimes a parent or a friend or a teacher says something, years later, it comes back into your head as something useful. So, how can we end the suffering of Mother Earth? Understand our true self. And then you can end your suffering and everyone's suffering, because you can live harmoniously with all things. It's not different than this. The wind blows, the tree moves. The tree never says, "Oh, I'm tired, I'll do it tomorrow." You guys sometimes have papers. I like tests better than papers, because tests appear whether I'm ready or not. But papers, it's like, when am I going to start it? Anyway, I was like that. And so it's not that the tree has no opinion. It just functions in harmony with the weather. If a hurricane, typhoon comes and the tree breaks, it never goes, "Oh my God, I'm so young, I'm so wonderful. Why'd I break? Why'd this happen to me?" It just does it. If it dies, it just does it, and it becomes new life. We are the same way. If you understand your true nature, it has no life and death. Just this form appears and disappears. Then you don't need to be upset when you die. But if I were your age and somebody was telling me that, I couldn't have believed it. I was 26 when I first met Musangsa. First time we talked, he said to me, "Zen means understand your true self. What are you?" Then he pushed me around until finally I was like, "Don't know." Then he said, "Listen to me, soon you'll understand. When you're thinking, your mind and my mind are different. When you cut off your thinking, your mind and my mind are the same. Your don't know mind, my don't know mind, somebody's don't know mind is all the same don't know. Because the moment you don't know, there's no thinking. No thinking is empty mind. Empty mind is before thinking. So when you keep this mind that doesn't know, very important for scientists, but of course for everybody, then that's already before thinking. Before thinking is your true substance. Your whole nature is made out of the substance of this before thinking mind. What is that? Don't know. So when you keep don't know 100%, yours don't know substance, my don't know substance, somebody's don't know substance, the substance of the stick, the substance of the sun, the moon, the stars, is all universal substance is the same substance. This has no thinking. Your true nature has no thinking. So when you keep this don't know mind, you are the universe is you. You and the whole universe have already become one. Personally, when he said that, a thought came into my head which surprised me. I've been waiting my whole life to hear that. And I knew that he was sure about it. He wasn't just repeating something. He had experienced that. So in Buddhism, we call that primary point. Everything comes from this primary point. Everything returns to it. So don't know is not don't know. Don't know is primary point. Primary point's name is don't know. But somebody said primary point is mind. Buddhism says everything comes from mind. Or Buddha, meaning Buddha nature, meaning this mind that's awake. Or God. Western religion, everything comes from God. Or nature, or energy, or substance, or absolute, or consciousness, or emptiness, or everything. So this before thinking substance, primary point, has many, many names. Just like English, water, you know, Chinese, sui, Korean, muru. What's the word from your country for water? Wa. Wa. You know, Malaysia, I. Spanish, agua. Many different names. But none of these is this is not a name. If you attach to the name, you'll fight. If you don't attach to the name, you understand its substance and its correct function. Somebody's thirsty, you give them a drink. So the whole universe is like that. Your life is like that. If we attach to the words, we can't use them correctly. If you don't attach and realize the nature of my mind before thinking, you can use words a million different ways. You know, I don't know how you guys talk. I grew up in Philadelphia, which is a kind of a crude city in America. So I grew up talking like this. You say to somebody, you're an asshole. Then they don't like that. You say to your best friend, hey, asshole. They're very happy. Same word. Only the mind makes it different. Everything is like that. Okay, next question. Did I already do that one? Already. Yeah, current practices. Okay, for achieving enlightenment. Well, you already experienced. I did this, but I just said answering your question because the only place to get enlightenment is moment to moment. So that moment, my job is answer your questions. So my practice for getting enlightenment is connect with you, answer your question. But you experience some of the formal practices we do, sitting, chanting, bowing. Why do we do those things? When you study in school, you want something beyond just study. You want to be successful, you want to learn something, you want to be able to get a good job, you want to make some money, or you want to become famous. But when you're sitting, bowing, chanting, you're not going to become famous. Nobody's giving you money. Nobody's going to have sex with you because you bow a lot, you know, or sit a lot. You don't get the food you want. You just get whatever. And there's not so much sleep time in the temple. So none of your desires are getting fulfilled. Then what's the purpose of bowing, chanting, and sitting? Paying attention moment to moment. Bringing your attention back to the present moment. You can think of your own situations, but how fast we leave the present moment. When the Korean women, some of the men come here, older people, I always say to them, you know, when you wash dishes, what do you think about? You guys are young, but I hear a lot of older people, you know, get married and happy, and 20 years later it's like, you know, sometimes it's great, and none of them, I think, would get divorced. But you're washing the dishes. Many women, when they have to do all the cooking and do all this work, plus coming back from their careers, think, you know, my husband's no good, doesn't appreciate me, my children are no good, doesn't appreciate me. When I was a young monk, I used to wash dishes for 40 people all the time. You know, the cook is no good, she's so sloppy, the kitchen master's a jerk, the abbot is the worst. You're doing one thing, thinking something else. You're driving your car, thinking about your bank account or your boyfriend, girlfriend. That's how you have accidents. If you can bring your attention 100% into the present moment, you're alive. Because every life is 100% in the present. You can't do anything about the future or the past unless you pay attention moment to moment. So the only purpose of sitting, bowing, and chanting is to pay attention right now. And even in the short time you've tried, you probably saw how your mind flies off very quickly. You know, bowing, for me, the worst thing before in bowing is you get to 27, oh, only a quarter done. You get to 54, oh God, half done. You know, you're constantly checking the situation instead of just doing it. When you just do anything, you are 100% alive. And all joy comes from being in the present. Happiness comes and goes according to circumstances. But joy is independent of that. It's when you're in the present moment, there's a natural joy of life. I had a big operation some years ago. I was in pain. So they gave me an injection of some kind of, painkiller. And immediately, well, within a few minutes, the pain goes away, and I fall into a great sleep. Next day, I get up, and I want the pain medicine. And the Korean nurse looks at her watch. Not now. And then later I got some. Then nighttime, it's all painful again. No, not till tomorrow. Actually, I'm happy they did that. Koreans are like, here, bite a stick. In America, they give out too much pain medicine, so now there's all this addiction to it. But anyway, I can't go to sleep. Pain, pain, pain. Finally, I get kind of annoyed and think, well, I can't just sit here in this bed all night long. So sometime around midnight, I got up. You know how you have those IVs in your arm and there's a pull thing? So I just decided I'm going to walk around the unit. Kind of walking meditation. So I'm walking around, I'm doing a mantra. 3 hours, no change in the pain. Then I go in the TV room. Maybe I'll watch TV and I'll forget about it. There's a sign, no TV until 7 a.m. I can't speak Korean, but I can read enough to know what that is. So it's like, shit. So I sit there and I do my basic practice, which somebody asked, which is just breathe in, breathe out, and stay in this moment. And I'm doing mantra that time, and this thought appears. My practice doesn't work, meaning the pain's not gone. And then I realize that's not true at all. What is the practice right now? Pain. That's all. Pain, mantra, and breathing. And 5 days I was in the hospital, and that was the brightest moment. And I realized something else, which is the truth too. I was not in serious shape. There were people in that hospital who had lots of pain, maybe no pain, they're dying. I was not in a life-threatening condition, even though my personal feeling was pain, pain, I don't like it, I want to get rid of it. So when you return to the present moment, you can experience your experience clearly, and you can start, it will happen by itself, get wisdom. You can see where does your experience really fit into things. Just like Mother Earth isn't suffering. We're the ones who make the suffering, and we're the ones who are going to suffer. Not because there's good and bad, just natural process. But a lot of people are waking up. So maybe we'll slide through somehow. But it's getting close, as things develop, it's getting close, it could be that in 20, 30, 40 years, it's going to be hard to find food for everybody, even though we completely have the ability to do it. Temperature goes up, what happens? More insects, more disease. It's just natural process, that's all. So very important to realize your true nature. Then any natural process is okay. You can use it to benefit all beings. And don't attach to this situation, because this is also temporary. But don't throw it away. In Buddhism, the great thing about being a human is there's not too much happiness and there's not too much suffering. You still can raise the question of, what am I? And if you realize that, you're free from suffering. Your body may have pain, but your mind's not suffering. Then you can use situations, good ones and bad ones, for others. This is not special. Maybe there's a mother who's dying of cancer. She has pain, she's unhappy, but she'll overcome it to give some encouraging words to her children so they can have confidence after she dies. That's the correct human being. Okay? Oops, I'm wearing my glasses. Look at that. Do you think you're truly happy? You're happy, I'm happy. You guys looked either confused, bored, or tired. Then I'm confused, bored, and tired. You're suffering, I'm suffering. So one time, Musangsa years ago, he said to us, Buddha saw a star, got enlightenment. What kind of enlightenment? Star enlightenment. Then he said, if Buddha was alive, now what kind of enlightenment? Then we just sat there and nobody said anything. Then he said, I think crying enlightenment, because this world has so much suffering. When I was in college, there was a rock and roll group, I don't even remember which one, but at that time everything was in albums, you know, and the album cover art got to be a big deal. And there was a painting or a drawing, it was of a baboon on a beach with a big birthday cake. And this baboon had taken his finger and pulled off a whole lot of icing and put it in his mouth. And there were tears coming down. And it was just like our heart. We got everything. You know, we got sweet thing in our mouth. Very unhappy. So you're unhappy, I'm unhappy. How are you hoping to help the rest of the world through meditation? Talking to you. If we connect even a little bit, maybe it'll affect your life in some way. And then what you do will help a lot of people. Why did you choose to become a monk? I was born in 1950 in the United States, just outside a big city. To me, at least, and what I was aware of, I went to public school, is the big social issue that I was aware of in elementary school was civil rights. You know, people know the story of America. Basically, it became a country after people went and stole the land from the native people, killed a whole lot of them, and shoved the rest on the worst pieces of land. And a lot of the economy in the South, at least, developed based on slavery. And then there was a big war to end slavery. Slavery ended. But as is still evident today, 150 years later, all kinds of prejudice hasn't ended. And there were many local laws made to oppress and limit the opportunities for people who had been slaves. So I was aware of civil rights. And in my mind, I was thinking things like, why do white people and black people not get along? I didn't understand that. And I also knew about World War II, and I was like, why? What was that about? Why people kill each other? And so this was a really big question in my mind about this world and suffering. Why is there all this suffering? And then I remember when I was 10, I looked down the street I lived on, and it was a very nice old street. It curved, and there were big trees, and every house was different. Nowadays, they build these big, expensive houses. You could drive a car right through the walls, you know? But these houses had been built around 1900. They all had some individual character. They weren't that big, but they were unique, you know? And I looked down the street. Every family had 2 cars in 1960. Korea was totally destroyed in 1960. You can think about what your country was like then, or what it's like now. We had 1 car, which I'm actually grateful for, because it helped me, that kind of issue helped me to not be so, take it for granted so much, my own situation. But I remember looking down the street and thinking, this is like paradise. We've got food, we've got freedom, come, go here, we've got education, we got healthcare, all this stuff. But I knew inside the houses, people were suffering, usually not expressing it. Husband, wife's problem, couple crazy kids on the block, individual suffering inside your own head. And then it hit me, economic success can help many things, but it doesn't ultimately take away suffering. So, according to my own karma, I guess, I wasn't interested in making a lot of money. I had actually no interest in making money, which, it's lucky I became a monk. When I was around 11, I happened to be chosen to go to an international camp in Japan. And Japan was trying to get back into the world. So they invited 10 kids from, 4 kids from like 10 different countries. And we did all this stuff together. very few people spoke English. We did, the Indians and the Filipinos, but my roommates were from Taiwan, Denmark, and the Philippines. And we had a great time. We just did kid stuff together. We were 11, nobody's body had changed, so nobody was cuckoo. And, but they also showed us around the country, and we went to this place called Kamakura, which has a large outside Buddha. And I didn't know anything about Buddha, never heard of him, never saw a picture, nothing. But for whatever reason, when I saw that, I thought, this person understands suffering. And it touched me really deeply. Koreans, it's easy. When they tell them that story, they said, before life you were a monk or practiced Buddhism, so you just see it and connect. I don't know. But after that, as I grew up, I often thought about Buddhism, but I didn't want to read any books, and I didn't want to go to Asia. Vietnam War, American-Vietnam War appeared. I was soldier age. I went to demonstrations against the war, and it really hurt my mind because I thought America's a good country except for a couple serious problems, and now it's doing something that is self-destructive in addition to harming other countries. And I was just shocked. And then I thought, society and adults don't necessarily have wisdom at all. So it really made me a little lost. And I was thinking a lot about suffering, so although I started studying physics, because I thought, you understand the universe, it's so beautiful, I switched to psychology because I thought the human problems were too big. Then fortunately for me, I had to work, so I got a job on a psychiatric unit while I was going to school. So for a few years I worked in the evenings. It was great because I saw, we'd study, and it was like, oh, human beings are like this, like this, like this. I go to work, much bigger than this idea. Read somebody else, Freud, human beings are like this. I go to work, bigger than that. One day I realized human beings are bigger than understanding. So how can you connect with some intuitive way, not dependent on understanding? So this is, and then I got out and blah, blah, blah. And basically I became a monk because I felt that true wisdom only comes from understanding your true nature. And my intention was to find the best way I could do to help others. I could become a doctor, I was good at science, I like people, but I thought, why take care of somebody and help them overcome their body problem when really what I want to understand is how to overcome this issue of what is this? And I didn't feel that Western religions answered that clearly. Of course, deep inside they do. I don't know Islam so much, but Christianity says the kingdom of heaven is within. Then why does anybody think it's someplace you go to when you die, like Hawaii? Jesus already said it's inside, which basically means when you have love mind for all beings, that's heaven. When anger or greed arrive, that's hell. That's all. You don't have to wait until it's over, And then what's really going to take you is not what you think you believe, but what you really deeply in your heart believe. If you really completely believe in heaven, you won't worry for a moment when you're dying. You may be concerned for the people you leave behind, but you'll have no anxiety at all. So if you do, you don't believe it 100%. But when I ran into Buddha's teaching, I just thought, that makes sense to me. So anyway, I felt the best way I can practice and help others is become a monk. I didn't think the time I'd have to spend on a career or a family was what I wanted to do. Although, I've lived with 5,000 people in the last 40 years, so maybe I spend more time with family than you guys do. I don't know. Why do you believe that people should still believe in religious beliefs regardless of scientific progress? Do you see a future without religion? I don't think I'm religious. What's religion? It's a bunch of ideas. And institutions all become rotten in some way. They always do. Whenever there's money into it or somebody can get authority over others, it becomes rotten. Maybe not 100% rotten, but enough. So I don't think if you like a religion and you can understand its true meaning, that's great. If you don't, that's great. One thing is Buddhist teaching and modern science have no problem. They fit together very well. And there's many, many things you can see in the West about that. There's no hindrance with that because Buddhism isn't based on ideas. So there's no idea of like when the world was made, how it's going to end. Somebody controls it, how you make that being accept you or not. It's so weird to me, you know. They say in nature there's no reward and punishment. There's only consequences. You know? Why would God care what you do? It's your problem, you know? But anyway, that's not my realm. So I don't think anybody needs to have religion. I don't know what religion is. You know, religion is how can I help you? That's enough. And if you have some strong idea, of course you won't be helping them. And that has nothing to do with religion. How many of you got pushed by your parents to do something you didn't want to? That's their religion, you know? So anytime you have a strong idea and put it on somebody, that's not going to be helpful. If you can connect with their mind and understand who they are, then you can do something very helpful. Christian monks would help people in need. Do Buddhist monastics do it as well? Yeah, I think in general, Christianity does more social service action than Buddhism generally does. But sure, you know, most of my time is somebody comes here, they're suffering about something. So I try and understand them and say something that's helpful or help them live here or something like that. So there are monks and nuns who make kindergartens, make schools, but the Christians do much more of that. This is an issue in the West because Asian Buddhism has gotten a little ingrown. In fact, our teacher went to the West. I'm going to have to stop soon, so I'll try and hurry through this. Because it's 4:15, I heard you have to leave at 4:30, and you probably need time to go to the bathroom, get your stuff. He said Asian Buddhism was old tree, can't grow a new shoot. So he cut a little piece, took it to the West, planted it in America and Europe and South Africa and the Middle East and other places, let something modern grow, and then brought some of it back here. You know, most of our schools lay people. 80% of our teachers are lay teachers. You run into a lot of the monks and nuns here because in Asia, the monks and nuns run our centers primarily. But in the West, it's all lay people like yourselves that are the majority of not just our school, all Buddhist teachers. So it's not separate from your daily life. How the monks handle grief when their father or mother dies? Cry. Actually, if you can cry when you're in grief, that will help you. Then what? So there's various chants you can do for your family. And the story simply is, we don't chant like a prayer. We chant, like I said, pay attention. Mahabanya paramilta. Each moment clear. Your attention is completely on the sound. Meaning's not important. If you go to a movie, you know, things are moving around. If you take the film out of the projector, each individual frame is not moving. If the frame that comes in front of the projector's light is clear, the movie's clear. If the frame that comes in front of the projector's light is not clear, the movie's not clear. Human beings talk about past, present, future. Those things don't exist. It's made by our thinking. Look deeply into it and you'll see it's all made by thinking. What is Saturday and Sunday? When I was about 8 years old, I didn't listen in class. I got this big question. Where in nature is the line between Wednesday and Thursday? There isn't one. All there is the clock and the calendar. Nature isn't dividing anything. But we make divisions and we think it's something. So you're not going to get wisdom that way. You're scientists. If you really break that apart, you'd be like Einstein. Oh, how come we can't detect the ether? Einstein, maybe there is no ether. Pretty simple, actually. So then we chant. Chant for our family, chant for your family. All you have to do is pay attention. As I said, everyone's consciousness has energy. When you 100% are clear in this moment, you and other people who have close karma are connected. When you have desire mind, you're connecting with you're feeding their mind also desire. When your mind's clear or compassionate, that's what you're connecting with. So even after people die, you can still help them just by paying attention moment to moment. That energy with close karma people will go and help them. But if you think about that, that's that much less energy to go. I'm going to help my father, Jijumbo Sajang. Oh yeah, I want to connect with him, Jijumbo, so give me a sign. Half of that is not going anywhere because it's opposites thinking. But when you just chant, you and the other is already one, and you're helping. That's how monks and nuns do it. You know, if you feel pain over a loss, you cry, hopefully, if that's your feeling, and then you put that energy into clear chanting. I was lucky. I think I got close enough to my teacher. I spent 18 years with my parents and maybe 27 years with my teacher, but I didn't see him that often. But I was working with him. When he died, I don't feel he's gone. I mean, I can't say that about any other relationship I've ever had. I'm blown away. Even one of our Polish monks said to me one time, 8 months ago, Sansan died, but he didn't go anywhere. How do you do that? Because your true nature has no life, no death. Don't think of it as an encapsulated consciousness, like your body's encapsulated, because your consciousness also disperses with your body. But your true nature, which is just this universal substance, doesn't go anywhere. So you can be in touch with all of it. I don't know how else to say it. You can't say it. You just got to do it. It's just like they say, you know for yourself whether water's hot or cold. Have you ever experienced moments where you regret becoming a monk, where you wish to start a life outside the temple? Actually, no. But I was fortunate. I asked my teacher when I was 27, I said, "Sir, I want to be a monk." He said, "Why?" I shouted, "Why not?" Then he said, no, why is very important. So I understood right away, I don't know why. He said, if why is clear, then any situation, any karma, no problem. If why is not clear, then some situation, feeling, condition appear, break your direction. So I said, okay. So then I had been living in the Zen Center about 2 years. When I moved in, that time was the 70s, you know? So everybody'd sleep with each other pretty quickly, break up, sleep with somebody else. I decided I'm not getting involved with anybody because I want to find out what is this about, you know? And I had some girlfriends, some very good girlfriends, and I don't want to do that. I want to find out what's going on here. What's the teaching? What's Buddha's teaching? What am I? Blah, blah, blah. But after 2 years, and this conversation 6 months before with Musangsa, I think I got lonely. So I start looking at one girl. She starts looking at me. Musangsa saw that, pushed us together. We got married. So we lived in the Zen Center 3 years. Whole thing blew up. You know, she ran off with some guy. I sat a 3-month retreat. For about 2 months, I'm thinking of, if you had any guts, you'd kill yourself. You'd kill yourself. But luckily, we didn't talk to each other. I slept with these other people. We got up together. We bowed together. We ate together. We sat all day together. I'm trying to do mantra and watch my breathing, but I'm going nuts. Somehow, I just kept myself there. Then, over a period of time, you see your thinking change. 2 months, I'm thinking about killing myself. One day, I'm sitting there and I think, why kill myself? Why not kill him? Then I thought, I still like her, so I'm only going to shoot her in the leg. And then I think, you're nuts. Your brain is nuts, you know. So you can begin to see, especially if you're not engaging in all these other things, how insane your thinking is. So eventually at the end, I saw exactly why it broke up. And I didn't have a husband's mind, as simple as that. And I also made my suffering, nobody to blame for it. Also, I didn't have to feel guilty about her suffering. She made her suffering. And this guy and his wife made their suffering. So I really got clear. It took about 9 months to digest it. Then when I went to see Musangsa, I said, "Sir, I want to be a monk." Then he just said, "Wonderful." He must have seen my karma. If he had let me become a monk too early, maybe I would have been thinking, what's it like to be married? That could be better, and I'd run off. Everybody has different karma. Other people, they become monks and nuns. It's not an issue for that. But he must have seen mine, and he just, and then some years later, he saw, now I understand. And actually, this, my ex-wife and I, it's like 36 years ago, she still writes me emails sometimes, because I think I didn't get another girl or something. So she must have picked, just like I'm a jerk, but I'm not a big jerk. So we're still friends. You know, friends, right, not right, it's fine with me, but it's okay. So no, I never thought, yeah, I fell in love a couple of times, but I knew, forget it. It's not my way. No matter how much I want to be with somebody, I know this is my way, and it's the only way I can even possibly be happy, because this is exactly what I want to do. I want to spend all my time understanding myself and moment to moment being free to help people in whatever appears. And I think I'd do that if I didn't have a position in the temple. The thing that made me the happiest in the last 10 years, I'm going to stop after this, I'm afraid, is I was on a train, and an old lady got up to get off, and she dropped her credit card and didn't notice it. In Korea, you call old people grandfather or grandmother. You know, it's like one big family. So I just shouted to her, "Harmony, you know, grandma." And she looked at me, and I pointed to the card. She smiled, picked it up, and left. Honestly, I don't know why. That made me so happy. So, life is not complicated if you make your mind simple. But it's not easy. It's simple, but not easy. Because we only get these bodies because we have a lot of desire, anger, and ignorance. But there's nothing wrong with this body. You can use those things to help others. So the whole point of Buddha's teaching is just understand your true nature. And if you don't know what it is, only keep this don't know mind, and you'll learn. So in university, if you don't know, you fail. But in Buddhism, if you go straight, don't know, you get enlightenment. So good luck to all of you in school and whatever you do for the rest of your life, or even the rest of today. And thank you for your efforts the last couple of days and your attention. And I wish you all happiness, and that you find a way that really you can believe in. You can believe in yourself. And good and bad is always coming and going. But if we know how to digest the good and the bad, each thing we can use in a way that benefits ourselves and all beings. That's, in our understanding, that's the purpose of human life. So, thank you. Bye-bye. I guess the bus isn't going to leave till you're on it, so take your time. Or don't.